What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Bitcast episode 11. It is January 26th, 2020. In today's video, I'm going to talk about current Bitcoin price action. I'm going to touch up on the high time frame levels that we talked about in the last video. Then I'm going to show you in altcoin that I'm currently trading versus Bitcoin so that I can ultimately accumulate more Bitcoin. It's something I like to do while Bitcoin is kind of ranging and finding a price. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about margin trading. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about some other tools that I use to just gather some more data to help me develop a game plan on how I invest in crypto, specifically Bitcoin, because that's mainly what I invest in. I don't really invest in altcoins. I mean, there's a few that I have accumulated some at lower levels to, hopefully one day they'll just moonshot or do like a 50x or something. I see potential in them, but ultimately I don't hold I don't hold a lot of my money in alternative coins, just because I don't think they have as good of a long-term investment thesis. They don't capture value the way that Bitcoin does, because Bitcoin has a lot more practical uses for a wider range of people around the world, whereas a lot of these altcoins, they're ambitious, but they don't they lack value capture, or they just they're in their infant stages. I'll just give them that. They haven't really shown to have a long-term sustainable value capture in the long run. Some of them do really well in the short term, which is why I like to look at them, try to find patterns and use them to accumulate more Bitcoin. But let's start off by looking at the monthly 6-month chart. So each candle represents 6 months of price action. The last video I touched on this chart a lot. I was basically talking a lot about this level at 14, or excuse me, it is at 84.96, right around that 8,500 level. Price has been struggling to get above it. As you can see, within the past 2 months since the beginning of the year, we did get above it, but then it acted as resistance and pushed the price back below it. In the past 15 minutes, we actually just broke above 8,500. Otherwise, we've been sitting below it. But as of right now, we're doing pretty good. We're above that level, which is great to see. If we can close above that 8,500, I think that's going to be a really good candle for us in the 6-month chart. And then again, we don't want it to drop below this 7,100, 7,200 range at the bottom. So by July 1st, because these are 6-month candles, this candle will close at the end of June. So by July 1st, we want to be above 8,500. If we're above 10.8, which is where this candle closed up here, that would be even better. That would be bullish for me. I think that means that we would see in the next 6 months 14.7 at least. We would retest where we closed up here, and maybe even retest the highs, which are around 20K. So again, the high time frame charts like this one, the 6-month, the yearly, the monthly, the weekly chart, these all hold more important levels than the 12-hour, 4-hour, 1 hour, because that's immediate price action. The highs and lows on these higher time frame charts are going to be a lot more valuable. If you were to set larger bids, you want to set larger bids at the high time frame levels, because on the lower time frame they don't hold as much importance, or don't hold as much weight, as far as people are going to be looking at the higher time frame levels. So if we look at the 1-year chart, we can see again that 7,200 level is the price we want to stay above for this year. But ultimately for the year, we want to get above 14.1. We identified the 4-year pattern with Bitcoin in the last video. So every 4 years it seems to have a cycle, meaning that it it has a bull stage, it has a down stage, then it has a recovery stage, and then it has another like mega bull run where we see large percentage gains. And looking at the chart here, you can kind of see that, where we have like, we don't have the data for the, obviously, the bull stage, then we had the down stage, this is the recovery, and then we had the mega bull. So this mega bull, we could call this the first year of the cycle. Mega bull, down cycle, recovery, bull run. Mega bull, down cycle, recovery, bull run. So what we're looking for with this yearly candle is a close above 14.1. We'll just call it above 14K. That's what we want to see. That's been the cycle. That's what people probably are anticipating. Is what I'm anticipating. It doesn't mean if we don't get there that's terrible and it's going to go to zero. It just means that it's not exactly repeating the cycle. It may, like I say, history, I say this a lot, history doesn't often repeat, but it often rhymes. So it doesn't have to be exact, but we can look at this cycle and how consistent it's been, and hopefully determine where it could possibly go, or at least identify targets where if the price goes above or below it, we can have an actionable plan ready. So that's why these levels are so important. The longer I've been trading or investing, the longer I realize that, or the more I realize that, like, the high time frame charts are where you want to be putting the bulk of your money. You don't want to focus on the lower time frame, because obviously price goes above and below those a lot more often than it does these. So you're less often to get wrecked. So speaking of wrecked, I'll lead that into margin trading. Margin trading is basically, there's certain exchanges that will allow people to, you can put Bitcoin or you can put your equity onto the exchange, and then you can essentially add leverage to it, or margin, which basically, so if I put like $500 in it and I do a 5x margin, my trade will act like I have 5 times 500, so it would be $2,500 would be my trade, but my actual equity, I'm only putting $500 on the line. And what it does is it sets a liquidity or a liquidation price, because although you're going to be getting gains that are like 5x your equity that you're getting, because it's like you have a trade with 5x the amount, you will also get 5x the amount of losses. So if that trade goes against you, you're going to lose 5x times whatever percentage you're down. So if you're down 2%, you're actually down 10%. So it can wreck you. I don't recommend it for anybody that's just getting into trading or investing. I've dabbled a little bit into it, but a lot of the services aren't even available for U.S. customers, so it's harder to do unless you have a virtual private network, and then you can obviously do it. But again, it's risky. You're basically saying that you have more money than you do, putting it on the line, and when it goes against you, you lose 10 times, 5 times, whatever your leverage is, that amount of money. So there's a lot more, there's smarter traders, algorithms that are trading against you. If you think you're going to beat them in the small time frame, I'm here to tell you you're wrong. You're going to get wrecked. Don't fool around with margin if you're new to this game. Again, this isn't financial advice or anything, but in my experience, it leads to terrible things. So with that, I want to talk about an altcoin that I'm kind of watching, playing. I have gotten into a position simply because the volume on it is just ridiculous. And when I see a lot of volume in a ranging asset that's been ranging for a really long time, and all of a sudden you just see like tons of volume come in, volume usually precedes price. So if you see a lot of volume but the price hasn't moved up a lot, that could mean that price just hasn't met up with demand yet, but it eventually will, and spike the price up. So I opened up the AION chart the other day and saw this opportunity. This is AION versus Bitcoin. So if I buy some AION and it goes up and I sell it, I'll actually get more Bitcoin out of the deal, because I have to have Bitcoin or AION to enter a trade. I can either sell it versus Bitcoin, or I can buy AION with my Bitcoin. So when I look at this chart, I see this massive overhead resistance from here all the way down to here. And I noticed, if we look at the volume at the bottom of the chart, I mean, look at this. Since December, the volume has just been going crazy. I mean, it's all the way up here. And I noticed this when price was right around 800 sats, and it looked like it was going to break above this consolidation area right here. So I entered, price got up, we shot above, we struggled a little bit with this resistance, which is pretty typical. I mean, this is from July of 19 till now. This is 6-month resistance. So it's a heavy resistance. But as you can see, the price got above it, and we retested it. And now we're retesting it again as support. And we want to see this hold. If this holds as support, you know, I think it's going to see another rise in price, probably to the next level, which looks like it could be around that 1,000 sats. But ultimately, if we zoom out, we can see how far price has gone down with AION in the past couple years. Since 2017 mega bull run, beginning of 2018, everything, all altcoins just basically sold off. When Bitcoin started selling off, all these altcoins basically didn't hold any value. So that's what I was talking about with the altcoins, with the value concept. They just don't capture a lot of value in the market. Like when people buy Bitcoin, they're buying it because they see it as another scarce asset like gold or like precious metals that holds those properties that make people actually want to hold on to it. Whereas alternative coins, although they have finite supplies, you know, like Bitcoin, you know, they only have a certain amount. So if supply, you know, catches up, or if demand catches up with supply, it could be a huge price spike, just like normal trading, normal supply-demand economics. But they just don't have that value capture. They don't have that long-term sustainability. No people have reason to hold on to AION, you know, besides, you know, being skeptical on the price going up. So when I see this huge drawdown like we saw with altcoins, and you see it develop a base down here like it did for basically 6 months. I mean, look how small that is. How compared to where the price was at down here, came all the way down, and look at this volume. We've finally seen some mega volume. So this looks super interesting to me. My target is up here. It's around 2,000 sats, which is about a 4x from, or a 3x from where I averaged in. So if I 3x, that means I will get 3 times as much Bitcoin as I put on the table to buy this AION. So this is like a swing trade. This might take a few months to play out, but I'm fine with that. You know, I got in when the price was starting to move up. When I see this volume, I immediately think, you know, volume precedes price. If I see this mega volume and the price hasn't even broken above this consolidation structure, it might be a good trading opportunity or swing trade. So that's what I did. I got in. So far it's going well. I could move my stop loss up into profit, which I'm probably going to do that after this video, so that even if the trade starts to go against me, I'll at least have profit. I don't have to worry about it going against me. So this is something I look for with alternative coins, just like short time frame trades where I can accumulate more Bitcoin. It's the only reason I trade them. And like I said, I hold a few alternative coins like Ethereum. I think it has potential, or like Tezos. Tezos is another alternative coin I've been holding for a little while for longer term swing trades, but I don't plan on holding them for as long as I plan on holding my Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's going to be around a lot longer than the rest of these altcoins. But some of them show potential, so I'd be remiss not to at least maybe dabble or throw a little bit at it, because if it has a chance to 50x, 1000x, like some of these have, it could potentially reward you properly. But again, that's very risky. So with that, I want to talk about a couple of tools that I like to use for newer people that are getting into the markets, or they just want to have some exposure to Bitcoin. They're like, how do I know when to buy? This stuff is so up and down, and I don't want to buy, and then the next day it's down 5 or 10%. How can I be a smarter investor without being super into charts or being able to read price action? What signals can I use? And when I first got into this, I got on Twitter. I looked for some people that were sharing charts or sharing their thesis. Learn from other people that have been in the industry for a lot longer than you. That's where I learned. I learned so much from other traders, and oftentimes they're cool enough to, or even if they have like 50,000 followers, or a lot of them, if you reach out to them in their DMs, they'll be willing to like help you out, or you show them your thesis and you ask them what they think about it, and a lot of times they'll tell you straight up. And I've developed some relationships with other traders, and it has helped me become a better one. And I just think that Twitter and social networks are a great tool to use to actually discuss with other people around the world. I live in Iowa, and there's not a ton of crypto or traders around me, so I use Twitter or social networks to kind of tap into those types of people. And another tool I use, and I tell a lot of beginners to check out, is the Fear and Greed Index. Because if you're just going to look at price action, or if you just go off your emotions, because we're all human, we're very emotional creatures. When price starts to go up, we're like, damn, I don't want to miss out. This could be the next, 30% run, and then you just throw money at it, and then as soon as you buy, price is going to go against you. I'm telling you, it happens every time. But you can use simpler tools to kind of mitigate your fear and your greed and your emotions to affect your game plan. And one thing that I used that really helped me was the Fear and Greed Index, and it's a super simple tool. Alternative.me. I just type into Google crypto or Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, and I think it's the first one. You pull it up, and it tells you what the Fear and Greed Index is for the day. It tells you historical values. It tells you yesterday's Fear and Greed Index, last week's, last month. You can actually click on more history data or scroll down, and it actually gives you this pretty cool chart that can help us out. If we look at this chart, we see the spikes we see how volatile Bitcoin is and how people's emotions are affected when Bitcoin is volatile. If we look at where we're at right now, around December, we were in the downtrend. We were looking kind of ugly. Fear got all the way down to 15. We were very fearful. Got below 20. Well, if we look at this chart and we look at how many times Bitcoin got below 20 and what happened right after it got below 20, or soon after, within a month or so, we can see that price usually spikes back up. Or not the greed spikes up, and usually when the greed spikes up, that means price shot up. So obviously people get more greedy when the price goes up. Using this simple tool, you could look at this and you could be like, okay, what were good buying opportunities? What would be a good time for me to invest some of my money into Bitcoin, to where I it maybe not go against me right away. And I would look at this and I go, okay, every time Bitcoin got below 20 on the Fear Greed Index, might have been a pretty good time to buy. If we look at every time that the Fear Greed Index got down to 20, price usually shot up relatively a short time afterwards. If we look over here, price got below 20. Shortly after, it was up to 60. Price got below 20 again, shot up to 30. Fear Greed Index got below 20 again, shot back up. got all the way down in August, down to 5. Wow, that would have been a great buying opportunity. But if you react like your human instincts tell you to, like when price is going up, you're going to be like, man, I wish I had more of it. I wish I would have had more. I wish I would have bought more when it was lower. It's harder to do when you're looking strictly at price because everyone's doom and gloom when the price is going down. But if you look at the fear and greed index that puts the fear and greed in perspective like this does, you can kind of control your emotions a little bit and be like, you know what? Fear and greed is below 20 right now. Like everyone's selling. They're saying it's going to 0. Like, I'm going to buy a little bit right now, you know? Because historically, we don't ever stay that way with Bitcoin. Like, it's volatile and price goes down, like, but it doesn't ever stay down, you know? I was reading an article about Sharpe ratio, and I don't necessarily know exactly what it means, but basically it means that, you know, your reward is greater than your risk the majority of time, and I think it's one of the only assets that has that type of Sharpe ratio where you're actually, more times than not, you're going to get rewarded for investing than it's going to be a more rewarded play than it is a riskier play, if that makes sense. So again, the crypto fear greed index, super easy tool to use. It helps you keep your emotions in check because we are emotional human beings, and you're going to get wrecked if you let your emotions control your investing and your trading. So just for word of the wise for people that are doing it for themselves, you know, it's nice to have some people in your corner, some tools in your corner that you can use to help you develop a investment thesis. So I just want to talk about those in today's video. Let's head over to the Bitcoin chart real quick. Bitcoin has been struggling to stay above 8.5. At the beginning of the video, we were above it. Let's see where we're at. And we're still above it, folks. 85.50. If we draw this trend line, you will see that what is happening is Bitcoin broke out of this downtrend. Bitcoin broke out, we got above it, we came down, and we tested it as support. And it's holding as support, guys. So far, it's tested it basically 3 times. 2 times for sure. So if we can stay above this line here, if we can get it stay above 8,500, it's going to be great things. It's looking good. Today's an important day. It's Sunday. We'll get to see the weekly close tonight at 6. If we look at the weekly, you can see that we got above it. It came down, retested it, and so far we're moving back up. So that's what you want to see. If you guys got any questions, you know, hit me up. I'm always here for you. Follow me on Twitter if you guys don't already. There's my Twitter handle. You know, shoot me a DM. I'd be more than happy to help anybody out. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next video, alright? Alright, peace out. Okay. Oh, there's always gonna be pressure. Okay.